como hermanos con tu bondad. Por tu grandeza.
Saludos, welcome. My name is Wildalis Bermudez, and I'm on the Hartford City Council. We are here today celebrating the 9th annual Life Commemoration event for Roberto Clemente, and we're so happy that you're with us. Unfortunately, we could not meet in person because of the pandemic, but we're not letting that stop us. We know the importance of recognizing this humanitarian and the life's work that Roberto Clemente brought. During these trying times, as we face the pandemic together, we know the most important thing is to count on community, for community to be there for one another. This is something that Roberto Clemente showed us as he died during a humanitarian effort to help those victims of the earthquake in Nicaragua, December 31st, 1972. He died giving back to the community, giving back of himself to so many people. And so we know that we must recognize the work that Roberto Clemente did for so many in the entire world. But also, for me personally, as someone who's Puerto Rican, as somebody whose family loves baseball, and the importance of Roberto Clemente was always mentioned in our household, but particularly as somebody who graduated from Hartford Public Schools as a student, it's important that we recognize the work of this Black athlete, this Puerto Rican athlete, this hero, because his story is our story. His culture is our culture. His legacy is our legacy. What we do and the way that we give back is how we are defined. Because in the end, we matter. Our contributions as a people matter. What we do for our community matters. And that is why it's so critical that we come together and we lift up our stories, that we lift up the work that Roberto Clemente did for our community and for so many others throughout the entire world. And speaking of giving back, we want to thank our committee sponsors, among them CICD, Dressler Law, Spanish American Merchants Association, Los Amigos Softball League, and so many others who made this event possible. Today you're going to be hearing from students, athletes, community leaders, and so many people who are coming together to honor the legacy of Roberto Clemente's work. It's my pleasure to introduce to you John Murphy, a longtime labor leader, an activist, an ally, and a personal friend. 9 years ago, John Murphy introduced this idea to Hartford. You'll be hearing from him next.
Over 25 years ago in Bridgeport, Connecticut, Puerto Rican baseball players and community activists gathered in Seaside Park to honor the life of Roberto Clemente. Roberto is a Hall of Fame baseball player, but he was an even greater activist, humanitarian, and civil rights leader. Steve Thornton and I used to attend these events honoring Roberto and decided it was time to honor Roberto Clemente in Hartford, Connecticut. We contacted Eugenio Caro and Julio Concepcion, and together we held the first annual Roberto Clemente Life Commemoration event in Hartford, Connecticut, in Colt Park, in the cold and in the snow, in front of about 30 people. Today, under the leadership of Alex and Pedro Mercado, there are hundreds of people involved in this event. We hold this event every year to honor this great humanitarian who gave his life trying to deliver badly needed earthquake relief supplies to the people of Nicaragua. It is a time for us to reflect on the good we have done in the past year, and it also is a time for us to renew our pledge to ourselves, our families, and our communities to make this world a better place. As Roberto said, anytime you have a chance to make a difference in this world and you don't, then you are wasting your time on earth. So please enjoy today's presentation, and may it inspire you to make a difference in this world.
And now for our national anthem and the national anthem of Puerto Rico, being performed by Magdalia Rios.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave. La tierra de Borinquen, donde he nacido yo, es un jardín florido de mágico primor, un cielo siempre nítido le sirve de dosel y dan arrullos plácidos las olas a sus pies. Cuando a sus playas llegó Colón, exclamó lleno de admiración: esa es la linda tierra que busco yo. Es Borinquen la hija del mar y el sol, del mar y el sol, del mar y el sol, del mar y el sol.
We'll be receiving a blessing from Deacon Ramon Rosado.
Hello, my brothers and sisters. It is a pleasure and a great honor to once again share this solemn moment with you. Obviously, due to the difficult situation we face in our world, we cannot meet physically today. Nonetheless, with the same love and much resolve, we gather in spirit through this means. In Holy Scriptures, we learn of the standard by which we will be measured the day our Lord returns to judge the nations. He said, "For I was hungry, I was thirsty, I was naked, a stranger, sick, or in prison, and you came to my aid." With this in mind, we pray. Almighty and eternal God, these words mark how we are to prove our obedience to your commandment of loving you by loving our neighbor as ourselves. Now, it is clear that neighbors are not simply those near us, those around us, as the hero we commemorate today has shown us. Roberto Clemente left us a vibrant and powerful witness of what it means to keep this command you have left us. And as we honor his spirit during this difficult time we face, we are drawn to recognize that same spirit manifests itself in our frontline workers. police, firefighters, health providers, and those who provide for our daily needs, to name a few. When I look at them, I can't help but see that number 21 shining brightly on their apparel, honoring him, honoring you. And so we ask, O Lord, bless our spiritual gathering today, and grant that both we and those who follow may have the foresight, the strength, and the courage to honor and glorify you as he did, speaking for the voiceless, fighting for the weak, and willing to lay down our lives for the sake of those most in need around us. We ask this in your glorious and divine name. Amen.
And now we will be hearing from our Hartford Public Schools Superintendent, Dr. Leslie Torres Rodriguez, followed by our school principal at Sport and Medical Sciences Academy, Jose Colon. Sport and Medical Sciences Academy has hosted the events graciously for the last 8 years. We will also be hearing from Hartford Mayor Luke Brunin.
I'm humbled to join you in the commemoration of Roberto Clemente's life. Roberto Clemente exemplified, and still does to this day, his legacy exemplifies leadership. Clemente was a leader above many, as an athlete and as a human being. He understood how important it was to remain focused and a disciplined humanitarian. As an athlete, we all know that he narrowed in on his performance goals and on the big picture, being part of a winning team, which helped him stay dedicated to his training and allowed him to become masterful at being able to focus on the moment, on what is important, and tuning anything out that was happening in the ballpark stands with spectators. That focus Clemente also displayed in his activism. He spoke out frequently against racism in the United States during the backdrop of the civil rights movement. He was not afraid to express and act on his social political views, pushing for equity, ensuring that those that are marginalized, set aside, often forgotten, get what they deserve. He was a disciplined humanitarian and continuously found ways to give back, whether it was coaching little ones in the game of baseball, creating opportunities and access to sports equipment and facilities, or being part of natural disaster relief efforts. He was disciplined. Roberto Clemente was grounded in a mission to lift others up. And as we reflect on the current challenges that we all are facing with the pandemic, there's something that we can draw from Clemente's legacy, from his leadership to help get us through. So there's a lot of distraction, fear, anxiety about public health conditions, loss of instruction, unemployment, housing, food insecurity, not being able to spend time with our loved ones. Let's stay focused on doing what we can at every single moment and disciplined about helping others, whether in our personal lives by reminding our loved ones how much they matter, as students by encouraging yourself and your peers to show up to learn or helping someone navigate remote learning, or in our professional settings by reminding our colleagues to take care of themselves and that their work matters. And as superintendent, I want to congratulate our SMSA student leaders and the adults who created this opportunity, the conditions that allows our students to show their leadership and to shine. Merry Christmas, and I wish all of us a new year filled with much health and peace. Feliz Navidad, y les deseo un año repleto de mucha salud y mucha paz. Gracias.
My name is Jose Colon. I am the proud principal of the Sport and Medical Sciences Academy, and I am once again honored to welcome our community to the 9th annual Roberto Clemente Life Commemoration event here at SMSA. Each December, for the last 8 years, the Sport and Medical Sciences Academy has had the distinct privilege of hosting this great event at our school. Following Clemente's example of resiliency and determination, we will once again celebrate, but we will do so this time virtually. So this year, we are unable to share and celebrate in person. We may not be able to listen to the live parranda music, enjoy the delicious Puerto Rican food, or exchange a friendly handshake with someone that we haven't seen in a while. But what we are able to do is to reflect and together pay homage to the great Puerto Rican hero, Roberto Clemente Walker. On behalf of the staff and students and families of our great school, we open today's commemoration with a great sense of gratitude for everything that Roberto Clemente represents. Those are the values that we teach our students and that we wish to model for everyone in our community. 9 years ago, the first group of SMSA students wanted to do something positive for their community as part of the SMSA senior capstone requirement. With the guidance and support of several SMSA teachers, this group of students designed, coordinated, and carried out the first commemoration event at SMSA. There are many people who worked hard to make sure that this event and Clemente's legacy remains at the forefront and center of our annual event. Mr. Alex Mercado has served as the student advisor and coordinator for the Roberto Clemente Capstone Project, and together with members of the Hartford community, continue to make this event a resounding success. This year, 4 SMSA seniors, Gabriel and Javier Custodio, Michael Infante, and Dolan Casson, have worked hard to continue our tradition and have decided to bring to you a virtual commemoration. Roberto Clemente once said, "A nation without heroes is nothing." And today, we are proud to call Roberto Clemente Walker a hero for many nations. We'd like to thank you for your continued support, and may the legacy of our hero serve as the blueprint for our work today and in the future. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. This is Luke Bronin, the mayor of the city of Hartford. The Roberto Clemente Day celebration has become one of the Hartford traditions that I value most and look forward to every year on New Year's Eve to recognize and celebrate a true humanitarian, a true hero, and somebody who occupies such a significant place in the hearts of our community. And one of the reasons that it's so important is because it's a pretty powerful way to start out the year every year by thinking about the humanity and the compassion that guided Roberto Clemente's life, as well as the courage of challenging and overcoming barriers, and the compassion that drove him to conduct humanitarian efforts all over the world, including that fateful day when he lost his life. And we, as a community, try to support one another and stand up for one another always, but there's probably no better time than right now, in the midst of this unprecedented pandemic, to reflect on the life and values of Roberto Clemente, to remember what we can learn from them, and to come together as a community to try to represent and reflect those actions, those values in our actions together as we support one another at this time. So to everyone who is tuning in virtually, I wish we were together in person. I can't wait to be together next year. In the meantime, it is exciting to be with you virtually, to say goodbye to 2020 and to say a wish and a prayer that 2021 it will be a very different year, and to start it out, as we always do in Hartford, by remembering, honoring, and reflecting on a life of tremendous courage, humanity, and compassion. Thanks, everyone. God bless, and Happy New Year.
We asked the next series of speakers their personal thoughts about Clemente's legacy, their connection to Clemente, and their hopes for the future. So now we'll be hearing from students, current and former athletes, and as well as community leaders.
Where do you stand about retiring his number, and why?
I've been an advocate for retiring the number 21 for the last 15 years. I have joined many organizations and clubs and nonprofits that have the interest of retiring number 21. I believe it is as significant for the Latin American players in the Latin American countries as retiring number 42, the Honorable Jackie Robinson, here in the United States of America. I believe that it's very symbolic because of the fact that most Latin American players today revere Roberto Clemente. And I like that in the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, there's an African American, a Caucasian, and a Caribbean player that greets everybody in the lobby. And that would be Jackie Robinson, Lou Gehrig, and Roberto Clemente.
Hi everyone, this is State Representative Julio Concepcion here. First of all, happy holidays. Hope everyone is safe and healthy during these crazy times. Let me start off by thanking the Roberto Clemente Committee for all their work throughout the years. You know, I was fortunate enough to be there the first year of this event, and it's just incredible the work that you all have put into it over the last several years, and even during a pandemic, you didn't take a year off, which is incredible. So kudos to you, and kudos to all the volunteers that have put this or made this event such an incredible thing here in the city of Hartford. And secondly, I want to shout out to all the students who have continued this tradition. It's a critical and important piece to ensure that the legacy of the great Roberto Clemente continues. So it's important for students in our younger generation to really get involved in something like this. So I really do appreciate all your hard work, and I can only imagine how difficult or different it was this year to produce something like this. So congratulations, and thank you for your hard work, and continue to revive and push out the greatness of Roberto Clemente. You know, growing up, I heard stories of the great one from many different individuals, you know, especially my father. But you know, it wasn't so much the ball player himself, right? So my father wasn't saying, you know, oh, this great baseball player had a 317 lifetime average, or, you know, was MVP of the 1971 World Series. It wasn't so much about the baseball. It was more about the humanitarian efforts that Clemente had. It was the way he conducted himself with the community. It's the way he gave back. That's what really spoke to me as a child, and continues to speak to me as an adult now. You know, I think Clemente's legacy, you can argue, is bigger now than it's ever been, right? So, you know, we didn't lose touch. And again, it wasn't just about the baseball. It was the fact that he gave so much to the Latino community, not just in Puerto Rico, but throughout the world, and of course the residents of Pittsburgh. He was an incredible human being that I think we all need to strive to be on a daily basis. So it's something that, you know, I certainly will continue to support you know, organizations and committees like this, just because we're continuing the legacy and continuing to tell the story of who the great one really was in Roberto Clemente. You know, I'm actually doing this today, which is Monday. You know, what's today? Monday, December 7th, which is ironically the day that they announced who the recipient of the Roberto Clemente Award was, which was Adam Wainwright from the Cardinals, who was just quoted by saying that this was the greatest honor of his life, and that should tell you something, right? This is an individual that could win MVPs, that has been in World Series, but to receive the Roberto Clemente Award is the greatest honor of his life. And that, again, tells you everything you need to know about the great one. So, again, I want to thank everyone that's involved in this. I know, you know, I know how difficult and how much hard work it is to put something like this together, especially during a pandemic and in 2020. But your work is noted, and it is so important to continue this great tradition that we have here in the city of Hartford. So thanks again. Hope everyone has a great New Year, and have a great holiday. And thanks again for everything you've all done. Congratulations.
Hi, my name is Petita Chan, and I am a graduate student at Southern Connecticut University. I am a student in the exercise science sports psychology program, and I am a research and teaching assistant there as well. I was one of the first members of the Roberto Clemente event committee, so it's an honor to be speaking today. I just wanted to shed some light on, when I think of Roberto Clemente and his impact on the world, he was so much more than a baseball player. He did so much for humanity. And especially in his off seasons, he would bring baseball equipment to students or kids who didn't have them. And he gave food to those in need. When there were natural disasters, he gave supplies and personal support to those who were affected by it. And I think that speaks a lot about the type of person that he was. He shed so much light and kindness and compassion and into the world. It was like his existence just shed so much love. And I think that's so important because I feel like there's not enough of it. He gave back a lot, and it would really be a disservice to just focus on his baseball career and not on what he's done for so many different communities and so many different people. Roberto Clemente, he affects me personally. I actually had no idea who he was until I worked with Mr. Mercado on the Roberto Clemente Life event. And learning about who he was at such a young age, I was 17 at the time, and I was going to college in like a semester. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but learning about who Roberto Clemente was and seeing his impact on the world, all I knew was that I wanted to be like him. Not just, obviously he made it in his career, and that's something I want to do, but he did so much more than that. He gave back to his communities, and I hope that when I've made it in this world, I also do the same. I want to be someone who, always gives back whenever I have the opportunity and really just shed light and kindness on the world like he did. And especially as a minority, seeing other minorities make it in high places, that's something that I also hope to do, because it's just great to see someone make it in this world before you. It's nice to be the first, but seeing a win for someone who's like you is like having a win for yourself, and it makes you want to do better and inspires you.
Roberto Clemente, para nosotros los boricuas y para todos los latinos, es sumamente importante. Es como nuestra leyenda para nosotros, ya por todas sus cosas que hizo en el terreno de juego y por todas las cosas bonitas que hizo fuera del terreno y toda su ayuda, tanto aquí en Puerto Rico como en Latinoamérica. Sí, para mí impactó mucho, ya que pues crecí escuchando su legado y de verdad que fue algo sorprendente, y admiro mucho la forma en que él fue y que ayudó a todos los puertorriqueños y a Latinoamérica. Para mí Roberto Clemente impactó mucho el juego por su forma de jugar, su tremendo brazo y su forma de expresar, para que los latinos fueran escuchados y respetados en las grandes ligas. Esa fue una de las cosas claves que él hizo y que, gracias a Dios, nos ha ayudado a todos nosotros. Para mí sería un honor que la MLB retire el número 21, ya que para los boricuas y para los latinos y para mucha gente que admiran lo que hizo Clemente, sería un gran honor.
Victor Rivera Collazo. I'm from Nagual, Puerto Rico, and I served in the U.S. military for 32 years and 9 months. Roberto Clemente's legacy, today we celebrate 48 years of passing, but his legacy started in 1955 when he went to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Not only was he a great player, but he was a great humanitarian. How he died impacted many lives throughout the world. Today, even kids, newborns, as recent as 5 years ago, are a Clemente fan. The legacy he has left is for a lifetime. The legacy of sacrifice, but also seeking perfection, but also in the process helping others. Always seeking to help, extend a hand to someone always be able to put his arm around somebody, bring comfort to them. That was Roberto Clemente. Because of that, he's been honored in South Africa. He's been honored throughout the world, from Africa to Germany to Korea to Japan, China, you name it, Australia. Many has ball fields and things in his name. So Roberto Clemente's legacy is something that grows every single day at a magnitude that we can never imagine. In 1972, December 34th, when his passing, not realizing how big that legacy will have become. And so today, as we honor his departure, we still honor the man that I call the justice man, the guy that always seeks justice for all, the guy that always uses character, his leadership, and his faith in God to help others, but also to bring peace among people. That was Roberto Clemente. So today, I thank you for continuing to his legacy as a member of the Roberto Clemente Foundation Board of Directors. I thank you for continuing his memory. God bless and enjoy.
Buenas tardes a todos. Good afternoon to all. My name is Federico de Jesus, and before beginning, I would like to take a moment to thank my good friends Julio Concepcion and Alex Mercado for providing me with this opportunity to converse with you about a topic that is very dear to my heart, Roberto Clemente Walker, and why he has been so important in my life. I will use some personal life scenarios to share my thoughts. In 1960, I was 10 years old and lived in Yokohama, Japan. My father was in the service, and our family was stationed there. On the morning of October 13th, my father awakened us, oh so joyously, and proclaimed that the Pittsburgh Pirates, Roberto Clemente, had defeated the New York Yankees in the 7th game of the World Series. My mom, my dad, my brother, and I immediately had smiles on our faces that were a mile wide, smiles that stayed there for days, and smiles that it seemed just could not be erased. In spite of the distances that there are between Yokohama, Pittsburgh, and Puerto Rico, we celebrated as if we were in all three places at the same time. If Roberto Clemente was a world champion, so were we. Lesson learned. From a very young age, my parents taught us that as Carolinenses and Puerto Ricanos, it was important to celebrate any and all positive and great deeds of our countrymen. For us, this was a family victory, a Pittsburgh victory, but most importantly, a Puerto Rico victory. Roberto Clemente on that day became my hero for life. In 1970 and 1971, I played AA baseball for Los Piratas de Carolina. In 1970, something wonderful happened. It was announced that Clemente would be the team's special guest for the grand inauguration of the baseball season. In addition to that, we were told that he would be donating the team uniforms at his own cost. The day of the inauguration was a majestic day, beautiful, sunny, bright, fans packed to the rafters, and where we, the players, were ready for the beginning of the season. But yet, best was yet to come. Suddenly, we were ushered into lines where we would be able to introduce ourselves and shake hands with the great one, Roberto Clemente. What a special moment that was for me. In addition to that, we had the team photo, and in that, Clemente was on the left side of the frame. Fred was in the middle and the back with the background of all of our fans. It was a beautiful picture and one that I have on my wall right here, and one that is truly one of my great treasures. Lesson learned. Clemente took it upon himself to donate the uniform to Los Piratas de Carolina. There is no doubt that he loved his hometown. He believed and he loved the youth of the town. And he always felt like a special commitment to the community. He was a man with a great heart that did not look for fame, especially for things that he felt that all of us could do. We see many examples of wonderful things in his life. But do we only look at the baseball player? Have we ever thought about looking at the man? In 1971, the Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Baltimore Orioles in the World Series. Roberto was voted the most valuable player. While I was overjoyed with his individual performance, there was one moment in the series that stands out more than any. That moment was an interview in the clubhouse after the Pirates were world champions that was conducted by Bob Prince, the Pirate radio announcer. When Clemente is ready to respond, he says, "Thank you, Bob. And before I say anything in English, I would like to say something for my mother and father in Spanish. En el día más grande de mi vida, para los nenes, la bendición mía, y que mis padres me den la bendición de Puerto Rico." Was I listening correctly? Did this really happen? Oh my God. Yes, he did. Lesson learned. When Clemente spoke in Spanish on national TV, it was the first time I had heard any athlete speak to the masses in a language other than English. That he did so as a Puerto Rican and in our native language of Spanish made it oh so sweet, and at the same time oh so daring. What an incredibly courageous man he was. And then when one sees and understands that the message he shared in Spanish spoke to his life, his culture, and the reverence we have for our parents, our children, our country, and God, we are left speechless. In just a few seconds, in just a few sentences, Roberto was able to share with the world the essence of who we are. He spoke for us, and the world listened. On New Year's Day in 1973, after awakening, I went to the kitchen for breakfast. I noticed an unusual sadness on the faces of my mom and dad, and I could sense that something was wrong. My dad, this time without any joy, shared the sad news. Roberto Clemente had perished the night before in a plane crash. He had been on the airplane that was carrying food and supplies for the victims of the Nicaraguan earthquake. I slowly sat down in disbelief. That New Year's Day of 1973 was devastating for my family and my homeland. Puerto Rico had lost their favorite son, and the country was in mourning. Lesson learned. It is now going on 48 years since the tragic events of December of '72. Yet the spirit of Roberto Clemente lives on through so many of the humanitarian efforts he began so long ago. A cenotaph erected in Carolina, I believe, best describes the man. The inscription reads, "Roberto Clemente, son of Carolina, exemplary citizen, athlete, philanthropist, teacher, hero of the Americas and the world." In his life and death, Clemente's legacy has lifted the Puerto Rican spirit to new heights. His name alone, Roberto Clemente Walker, inspires all of us to make the world a better place. Peace be with you, Roberto. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, guys. My name is Andrew Marrero. I'm a pitcher for the Yukon Huskies, and I am proud to say that I am Puerto Rican, born and raised in New Haven, Connecticut, with my parents of the descent of being from Ponce, Puerto Rico. All my life, Roberto Clemente has always been a huge role model and someone that I looked up to, and it's actually an honor to make this video as well, and to know that I can talk about him and to answer these questions for you. The thing that I think is the most important about him as a baseball player and also as a human being is that Roberto Clemente didn't only care about himself. He always cared about others that were coming from the same struggle he did, like he did in Puerto Rico, with not having as much as others did in the States. And also, I think as a baseball player, he was just an amazing athlete and just someone that you can always look up to with the amount of heart that he had on the field. The way that I think Roberto Clemente impacted my life, I would say, is how he gave me the strength as to always try and be a Puerto Rican that can do something with his life and to be successful and to actually put forward into the game of baseball as well. I mean, it's not easy being a Puerto Rican in the game because it is ruled by other races as well. As we know, he's also given us a lot of opportunities with scouts and everybody actually getting to know more Hispanics and more Puerto Ricans in the game. And it actually opened doors up for us to play into the next level of the big leagues. To be honest, if I had one word to describe Roberto Clemente, I would describe him as a legend. Simple as that, because he did something that no one else ever did for not only Puerto Rico, but also for all Hispanics all around the world. And he didn't only show it on the field, but he showed it off as well off the field. The way he impacted the game was that he also gave us opportunities to play with others of different race and to actually build a bond and team like we should. And also, I do think that Roberto Clemente's number should be retired due to the fact that he is also one of the biggest impacts in the game of baseball, because if it weren't for him, we wouldn't be able to play the same way we are now. I wouldn't be in the spot that I am playing at a university like UConn.
Hi, everybody. I'm attorney Jeffrey Dressler, and once again, it's a privilege to be a part of the Roberto Clemente Life Commemoration event. And I've been given a number of questions to answer as far as how I feel about Roberto Clemente as a human being, what he did for the sport, what he's done for my life, why, politically and culturally, how would I describe him and what he did for the game? And do I feel that his number should be retired? Well, the answers overlap. And instead of answering each one individually, I answered as follows. Aside from being the first Latino inducted into the Hall of Fame, aside from 15 All-Star games, aside from the MVP award, aside from the 4-time batting champion, the 3,000 hits, the 12 consecutive Golden Glove awards, aside from 2 World Series championships, a World Series MVP award, no one title encompasses what he truly represented. But if I had to choose one title, it would be humanitarian. We all share a collective memory of what his life characterized, not so much as to who he was or what he was, but he exemplified what we're capable of becoming. He demonstrated that if we don't help others in need, we diminish ourselves. And he didn't consider success as an entitlement to privilege, but as the mantle of responsibility. And it was all rooted in humility. Retiring Roberto Clemente's number would define our respect and gratitude for what he did for the game and for an exemplary life he lived with integrity and compassion. And after all, aren't these the timeless values that we want our children to learn? So, muchas gracias, Roberto.
Welcome, my friends from Los Amigos Softball, for having me here today. When Pedro asked me if I was willing to say a few words about Roberto Clemente, I was thrilled to do it. Roberto Clemente holds a special place for the Yard Goats. He holds a special place in baseball history in general for that matter, but especially at Dunkin' Donuts Park. The Yard Goats were the first team in minor league baseball to retire his number 21. No player wears the number, nor will they ever wear the number at Dunkin' Donuts Park. There's a large sign in the outfield with the number 21 right next to Jackie Robinson's number 42. Clemente is the rare athlete whose humanitarian deeds are remembered with as much admiration as his accomplishments as a player. Roberto Clemente is a hero throughout the world. That's no more evident than here in Hartford, where we're fortunate to have a large and diverse population that recognizes his contributions. We've had the pleasure of getting to know his family, and we're fortunate enough to have his son Luis at Dunkin' Donuts Park in 2019. Together holding clinics for children who live in Hartford's North and South End. A player like Clemente is so important because not only does he patrol the outfield, swing the bat, and run the bases as well as anyone who's ever played the game, he recognizes baseball is a game. And Clemente dedicated his life to making a difference in the lives of those less fortunate than him. And he tragically died in a plane crash doing just that, delivering aid to Nicaraguans recovering from a devastating earthquake. May the memories of Roberto Clemente live on in all of us and help guide us to make the world a better place to live. Thank you very much.
Now we will hear from a very special guest, Roberto Clemente's son, Luis Roberto Clemente.
Luis Roberto Clemente, on behalf of the Roberto Clemente Foundation and the Roberto Clemente family, thanking all of our friends from Hartford, Connecticut, for getting together every single year and celebrating the annual Roberto Clemente Life Commemoration event. This year, because of the pandemic, it will be virtual, and I know there's been a lot of efforts put behind it, and I want to congratulate the students, Gabriel Custodio, Dolan Cazone, Javier Custodio, and Michael Infante, as well as the committee, who year after year worked so hard to make this tradition continue and be perpetual. So more of the new generations get to learn who Roberto Clemente was. This past year, we lost our mother, Vera, and I would like for you also to include somehow her legacy, as she was a tutor, she was the pillar of the family. And this is why I do what I do today, to continue to commemorate my father's legacy, now as well as hers. I have stepped down this year from the presidency of the Roberto Clemente Foundation, and we have appointed Mr. Tom Braswell, who is an amazing, I call him another brother of the family. And he basically was the head of the charity, president of charity for Major League Baseball. Through his leadership, I understand, I have no doubt, that we will continue to build nations of good. I want to also thank Peter Mercado and Alex Mercado for being incredible citizens of Hartford, for all your efforts, for all you do. Peter, with Los Amigos Softball League, celebrating that tournament, honoring our father year after year. Thank you. Same with Alex, organizing the students and the committee also to celebrate and commemorate my father's life every year. I truly appreciate your efforts as well. I want to give a big hug and shout out also to our friends that I've made over the years, Brenda from El Criollísimo, and also Jeffrey Dressler, for all you guys do supporting also the community in Hartford. You guys are amazing, and I will never forget you guys. So I will continue to come to Hartford to celebrate the Yard Goats. Amazing experience watching a game there. Amazing how you engage the fans into the game. And it's definitely the way to watch a baseball game. Thank you for being the first and pioneers in retiring my father's number of Major League Baseball or minor league baseball at the Dunkin' Donuts ballpark. That 21 is side by side with number 42. So that's amazing. Thanks so much for your support in helping us organize our clinics. We're looking forward to continue to do that in every single visit we go to Hartford. So everyone, thank you so much once again. You have our full support. Happy New Year. Stay safe, and God bless.
Every year, a group of students from Sport and Medical Sciences Academy helps to organize this event. This year, we have distinguished 4 individual students who've organized this event. Among them are Dolan Cazone, Gabriel, and Javier Custodio, as well as Michael Infante. We'll be hearing from Dolan Cazone on behalf of the students.
Hello, my name is Dolan Cazone. On behalf of myself, Gabe, Javi, and Michael, I'd like to thank everyone for watching the first ever virtual Roberto Clemente celebration event. It was a privilege for all of us to be a part of this event to pay tribute to a legacy created by Roberto Clemente. Also, I would like to thank Mr. Alex Mercado and the rest of the celebration committee for this opportunity. I hope all of you at home enjoyed the event, and may Roberto Clemente's legacy live on forever. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate the effort of everybody who's come through to make this event possible. As we reflect on the important work and life of Roberto Clemente and the legacy that he brings to our future youth and our current youth, let's think about the ways that you can give back to your own community right here in Hartford.
Roberto, Clemente, tú nos enseñaste a ser como hermanos con tu bondad.